everyone, my name is Caitlin and welcome back to my channel where I completely ignore the fact that I just cut all my hair off and just jump into today's video. So I was really excited to make this video because Halloween on Disney Channel was such a special time. They always had Monstober and they would have all their Halloween themed episodes and movies, and it was a fun time. It always got you into the spirit. And Halloween decoms in particular are like one of my favorite things, and I didn't think about how hard it would be to like put them in order until I was rewatching all of them. Like going in, I was like, obviously Halloween Town's gonna be #1, and spoiler alert, Halloween Town is actually not #1. I watched a lot of decoms that I'd never seen before that I really enjoyed. So this is just gonna be my honest list of all 13 Disney Channel Halloween movies ranked in order. This is obviously my own personal list that I know hardly anybody is gonna agree with, but I just thought it'd be fun. So with all that being said, let's just jump right into it.
Go Twitches! Go Twitches! Twitches! I've been thinking about that all day! Twin witches! Exactly!
Twitches was one of the first ones I watched because I remember it being one of my favorite ones as a kid. But then rewatching it and comparing it to the other decoms on this list, I personally just don't think it's that good of a movie. I do love the theming of it. I love the idea of like twin witches, especially growing up. That was like such a cool kind of thing to have, and it's such like an iconic movie for Disney Channel, and it was filmed in Toronto, which is really cool as like a Canadian myself. But I think as far as the plot goes for Twitches, it's definitely not good, but obviously my own personal opinion. I know a lot of people love Twitches, and that's great. I hope that you enjoy watching it this Halloween season, but I will not be watching it again.
Very careful while you're here, dear. There are secrets, things I should have told you.
Well, tell me now.
There's no time.
Grandma?
Oh, I'm sorry, dear.
So I find Return to Halloween Town to be a very awkward addition to the Halloween Town series, and I feel like Sarah Paxton was an odd casting choice because she doesn't look like Marnie at all, and then she also like isn't that great of an actress. I also found that this one just has so many plot holes. I don't understand what happened to Marnie's love interest from Halloween Town High, and why Lucas Gabriel is suddenly her love interest when he really wasn't even a main character in Halloween Town High. I just found this movie to not really make sense in the grand scheme of the Halloween Town franchise, and that's why it is so far back on the list.
Okay, now I know this may seem a little overwhelming at first. I mean, we're definitely not in Halloween Town anymore, but if you really want to get the full human world experience, it's important that you sample all of our customs. And like it or not, the mall is definitely one of the most human things that...
Who are you talking to?
So Halloween Town High is another weird movie. I feel like Halloween Town 1 and 2 are very in sync with one another. They follow each other's plot lines really well, and they really complement each other as films. Whereas I feel like Halloween Town High and Return to Halloween Town are kind of misfits in the whole franchise. Like, they don't really fit in to the storylines that were created in the first 2 movies. Don't get me wrong, I do love the fact that it takes place in a high school. I really like the high school dynamic, and I like the idea of bringing these Halloween Town kids into their high school, but I just feel like it doesn't make sense with the greater scheme of things. And the love interest in this film just really bugs me because this was the film where we kind of just forgot that Luke even existed, and then she ends up with this guy and they kiss, but it's like, I'm not rooting for them because I don't understand why he's there. I do really like that Alicia is in this film. I think she does a great job and she's really adorable, but overall I just feel like this one, similar to Return to Halloween Town, just doesn't really fit in with the whole franchise.
The power of the sun and the forces of the moon become one in our quest. All right, stay focused. All our energy and concentration has to be on... Dimitri!
Nice focus!
So out of the 2 Twitches, I do like this one just slightly better. I do still think the plot is not very good and the storyline itself doesn't really exist, kind of like the first one. But this one does have that love interest dynamic, which I like. And they also explore Coventry a little bit more, not as much as I would have liked. That is one complaint I do have about this series overall, is that they're never in Coventry, which is like the coolest part about Twitches, is that they're from like this cool magical land, but they're never there. Watching them again now, I really don't think the films themselves are that great, so that's why they are so far back on this list.
Hey, Marnie. I'm not enrolled yet, but I hear there's this really big costume party at the high school. I figured if my costume's good enough, maybe I could crash it.
Well, let's see, if you went with a student who is enrolled, then maybe you wouldn't have to crash it.
Pick you up in an hour?
Yeah, sure.
Meeting you is everything I hoped it would be.
said, I do really like this movie. I think it's a great sequel to the first one. This movie is very iconic to my childhood. Like, there's a lot of moments in it that I distinctly remember watching as a kid, which I think is really cool. I kind of wish we had a third one that was more like this movie because they ended on that cliffhanger of like Cal's gonna come back and then he never comes back in the other movies. And the fact that we never really get a good conclusion on Luke and Marnie's relationship has always bugged me. But overall, it is a really great Halloween decom and definitely one of my favorites.
See, if you come home now, he'd feel terrible, wouldn't you? Of course you would. So, you know what? We're gonna leave, so bye, Mom. Bye, Dimitri. You guys have fun. Good night, and see you later.
So this is another one that I have really fond memories of growing up. I just love the sibling dynamic in this one, and I love the concept of the vampire and the mom dating him and the kids like trying to save the mom. Like, it's just a really wholesome movie about vampires, which is a weird sentence. The acting in this movie is also really well done. Lizzie McGuire's dad plays like the best character in this movie. He's so funny. And it's honestly just a good movie. Like, if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. And I feel weird having it this far back on the list because it is one of my personal favorites.
Seriously, Fran, do you mind if I call you Fran?
Yeah, actually, I do.
I think I must have been sent here to help you. That's probably why you can see me.
Oh, you know, I don't need any help, real or imaginary.
Au contraire. There's something very peculiar going down in this burg, Watson, and it looks to me like you're in the middle of it.
Look, I don't care what they said, but I did not egg Mr. Kepler's car.
I know you didn't.
Okay.
I know who did. It was the boogeyman.
The boogeyman.
Mm-hmm. And I think he's got it in for you, Fran. I think you're being framed.
So Don't Look Under the Bed is definitely like the scariest Halloween decom. And if you haven't seen it, I don't want that to scare you off. I think it was just from me watching it as a kid, it was definitely the most scary. But it also has a very special place in my heart. Overall, I just have really fond memories with this movie, and it's definitely one of my favorite Halloween decoms for sure.
My parents are monster hunters?
Fourth generation. Best in the business. That's why I'm training with them.
Wait. My parents, Steve and Julie, nerdy, overprotective, weighing the mold.
Mold's a day job. It pays the bills. But monster hunting isn't really money. It's more like volunteer work.
Like helping out in a soup kitchen?
Yes, Sadie. Like helping out at a monster soup kitchen. Ah! Oh, that's my phone.
So I love this movie a lot. I think it's got a great cast. I love Olivia Holt. I love Luke Benward. I love Mr. Young. For all you Canadians out there, you know who I'm talking about. And the girl from Shadowhunters is in it too, and she's actually not that bad. The only place I think this movie kind of lacks is in storyline. I don't think it has the best plot, but I think the music makes up for it because I love the songs in this film. Have Me at Hello is a great song. Fearless is a great song. The contrast to like some of the older decoms, you can definitely tell that this one is a bit newer, but I think that's okay. It is definitely one of my favorites, but mostly because of the music in it.
She talked about all this weird stuff that's happening in Halloween Town, like it's a real place. And then she turned our leftovers into a live chicken standing right there in the bowl. And that's when I knew that she is a witch, and so is Mom, and so am I, because they both said so. What do you think?
I think it proves insanity is hereditary. I just hope boys are immune.
So I know people are going to be mad at me for putting Halloween Town so far back, but honestly, I just didn't find Halloween Town to be as good as some of the other movies that I watched. Like, the plotline wasn't that great, in my personal opinion. I definitely think that this one is the most Halloween out of all of them. Like, they have very good Halloween theming throughout this movie. I do love what it's done for Disney Channel and decoms in general, but I just don't think it is my personal favorite. I also find Marnie to be very annoying, and I have a hard time watching her, so that is also a thing. And honestly, I'm just a little sick of people saying that Halloween Town is their favorite Halloween decom. Like, there's other really good Halloween movies. Why aren't we talking about them?
We'll be back tomorrow, okay? He talks. That was a grunt. It's kind of like talking.
Hey, that's more than my dad says in a month.
He understands me. How do you know? I just know.
Thanks for finding my glasses.
See you tomorrow.
So Under Wraps is actually the first DCOM like ever. They had the Disney premiere films, but this was the first one that was advertised as like a Disney Channel original movie. And I think that on its own makes this movie so special. It was also a bit edgier than some of the other DCOMs, which I found really refreshing. I really loved the friend group dynamic in this one, and the dynamic between the main character and his mother was really well done. Also, Harold the mummy was the best. He made my day throughout this movie. He was a mummy and he was so awkward and adorable, and it's like, I didn't know I could feel such attachment to a mummy, but they made me feel that way, which I think is really cool. They also had a very good ship in this movie, which I really loved. I find sometimes that I don't enjoy the older DCOMs as much as the newer ones, but this one really proved me wrong that I need to watch more of the older ones because I loved it so much. It was so cute and adorable, and it's like, how? It's about a mummy and these kids, but it's really good. If you hadn't seen it, please watch it. It's Halloween time, watch this movie, and I just had to put it this high up because I fell in love with it.
So, what exactly is this place?
Oh, no, listen, forget it. It's much too complicated to explain.
Some sort of afterlife way station?
Okay, maybe not so complicated.
Oh, hello. Thank you for dying.
This is the North American Zone 6 Soul Retrieval Center, and I am Jumper. Get the picture? And this is my so-called partner, Cough Ned. Delighted.
So I actually hadn't seen this movie until I watched it for this list, and I absolutely fell in love with it. If you hadn't seen it, I would highly recommend it. One of the main things I really liked was the family dynamic of it, and I really liked the way that the siblings worked with one another. I think that they were really likable and believable siblings, but I also really liked the dad's role in all of that. I think that they all just felt like a real genuine family, and it was really unique to see. I also really liked the concept of death. I think that the whole ghost, like having to go to a certain place to enter the afterlife, was really neat, and how they were able to like decide on their own when they were ready to move on, like if they had some unfinished business that they needed to do. I also found it to be a little bit similar to that Wizards episode with the haunted house, and I thought that that was really neat as well. Overall, it's definitely a classic Halloween DCOM, and I'm so happy I watched it. Like, it's definitely gonna be one that I rewatch every Halloween from now on. It's just really heartwarming, and the acting is really good, and I also really like the story arc and the whole mystery element to it. It's just a really good movie, and I really enjoyed it.
This isn't an accident, you know. It's sabotage, exactly like in Judson's Revenge.
I thought I told you to stay in your seat.
I'm just trying to help, okay? See, I'm betting that the Phantom of the Megaplex doesn't like you bringing a big Hollywood party into his home.
Brian, hey, don't start with me, okay? We have 26 screens here. Things are always going wrong.
Yeah, but all in one night, I mean, come on. The candy bin crashing down, and now this focus thing.
And you don't even know about the Maniac popcorn machine.
See? In Judson's Revenge, the guy, Kevin Eastman, see what happens is he thinks he's been cheated by this big power company, but no one will listen to him.
All right, enough. Okay, get back to Farmer Brown now.
Okay, but I'm telling you, sabotage.
So there seems to be a little bit of a theme going on with these past couple movies, because this one as well I hadn't watched until making this video, and honestly, just thank you to you guys for requesting this one, because I probably wouldn't have watched it otherwise, and that makes me really sad, because like the other ones, I fell in love with this movie. It is so good. It's loosely based off of Phantom of the Opera and Scooby-Doo in a way. The mystery element is amazing, and I fell in love with Pete, which was great for me because the love interest was named Caitlin, spelled the exact same way as me, and she even looked like me a little bit, in my opinion, and so I was like living out my best life in this movie. I also just liked the overall message of the film of just like what movies mean to people, and I thought that that was really special. It was also really cool that like the majority of the movie took place in the movie theater. I just thought that was really interesting. And honestly, it's just a really great movie overall. I'm absolutely in love with it.
Okay, there. Now I'm going to remove this towel and be awake, and everything will be totally normal.
So I feel like a lot of people may not agree with me of this being my #1 movie, but for me personally, there was no other movie that topped this one when I was watching all of them over again. Invisible Sister really stands out to me because it has that such great underlying message to it. The whole concept of like feeling invisible or like feeling overshadowed by an older sibling, I think is something that a lot of people can relate to. Me especially, like I remember being in high school and elementary school and just feeling like I didn't matter or whatever. Like I feel like we all kind of go through that stage, and it was so nice to see that highlighted here, especially for like a Halloween DCOM. Like I would go as far as to say this one is one of my favorite DCOMs of all time. Like I don't know why, I just have such a deep connection with it. It's also, there's only 2 DCOMs on this list, this one and the Scream Team, that can actually make me cry. And the Scream Team I'd never seen before, so I feel like I have a little bit more of an excuse to like crying in that one. But this one, like, I've seen so many times, yet it never fails to like get to my emotions every time. It's just, it's got such a good underlying message and they do it so well. Like, Cleo's character arc throughout this film is really well done, and I honestly just love Rowan Blanchard a lot too. I think she's a really great actress, and seeing her shine in this movie is one of my favorite things. She has that one really great monologue in this movie that always stands out to me, and she's just such a talented actress, and she really showcases that here. I also loved the ship in this movie. Cleo and Carter are so adorable, as well as Cleo's sister and her boyfriend. They're cute as well. I also just feel like a lot of the Halloween movies don't have good ships, and you guys know that that's something I like to see in a movie, and so the fact that there are really good ones in this movie is obviously something that I really like about it. And overall, it's my favorite. It has a very special place in my heart as a movie. So while it may not be the most popular DCOM or like have 3 movies that have come after it, it's my personal favorite. I'm not gonna lie and say that another one's my favorite when it's not. That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, guys, I wanna know what your favorite Disney Channel Halloween movie is. Don't forget to leave that in the comments down below. I can't wait to read all about it, especially those of you who say something besides Halloween Town. No, I'm just kidding. Say whatever you want. I wanna know your favorite, so let me know your favorite. Anyways, guys, my name is Caitlin. You can follow me everywhere at Kate Loves Disney. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell because I post new videos every single Friday. But that's all I have to say for today. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you very, very soon.